Before you give in to that temptation, remember where it took you last time. Hey y'all, welcome back to the Interlinked podcast. I am your host, Ray, and so sorry we took a little bit of a hiatus on the pod. As you guys know, I went to Portugal on a solo mission. I was there for like 12 days, and so obviously, I could have been recording there, but like I wasn't even posting on social media because I was so busy. So doing that, I don't know where I would have found the time, to be honest. But yeah, obviously, before I left, I was trying to pack and I was so busy and I felt so guilty that I didn't post before I left. But, then I went and I came home. And honestly, I just kind of wanted a break. I don't know. I wasn't feeling as inspired to talk on the podcast as I was to just get back to my routine and kind of get back to like just articulating my thoughts, and I was doing a lot of journaling, and I don't know, I guess I needed a break. So regardless, we're back. But anyways, obviously to leave for my trip, I had to get on some planes, okay? So I want to tell you a little story, and this actually inspired the entire premise of this episode. And I knew as soon as it happened, it was going to be my first episode as I returned back to recording. And that's exactly what I'm doing. So here it is. So, if you don't know, I fly standby, which basically means I have the last pick of the draw on getting on a plane. Okay, so if there's seats available, I get on. If there's not, I don't. And my mentality is always, of course, I'm going to get on. Like I'm just delusional in that way. And I think that's gotten me real far because if I stressed about it, what is that going to do for me? So, anyways, I end up being the last person on the plane because it just got down to the wire. Like, some people didn't show up and like this whole thing happened which allowed me to get on the plane. So I walk all the way to the back. I'm literally in the last seat and I sit next to these two guys, and immediately the one dude is like, "We've been waiting for you." And just trying to be funny, start conversation. And we end up talking, and we're talking the whole flight, okay? Literally from the second I sit down to the second we land, which this was a short flight. This is my first one, so it was like an hour, but regardless, we're talking the whole time. So, obviously, this is a short flight. So, typically on a plane, you would get the snack cart, you would get your choice of beverages, right? Well, in this case, they just come around with a tray, and on the tray is water and orange juice. Okay, only two options. Obviously, normally we got more choices. We got pop, we got cranberry juice, coffee, whatever, whatever. I'm feeling a little limited by the choices, so I'm like, you know what? Water seems a little bit boring. Let's just go with the orange juice. Now, as I said, I've been chatting it up with the dude next to me, so I can't help but notice that he also goes with the orange juice. Not a big deal. Why does the story matter? We'll get to that. So I sip it and I'm like, yep, that's orange juice. Like a drink I typically don't ever reach for. I know this isn't that popular of an opinion, but like I hate mimosas. If I was given the choice, mimosa or a Bloody Mary, I'm going with the Bloody Mary. Am I going to have multiple Bloody Marys? No, but like I'd rather have one of those than just continuously sipping on mimosas. Like, I don't know. I just think that alcohol and orange juice taste just so awful together. And orange juice itself just isn't my favorite. Like, honestly, not reaching for it. I'd way rather have like grape juice, apple juice, anything else. Whatever. So I don't really care for orange juice, but in this case, I go for it, just see if it's poisonous. So I'm kind of regretting my choice, a little disappointed, but again, not surprised because I know this. But anyway, I turned to him. His name was Paul, the dude next to me, and I'm like, bro, I honestly don't know why I got orange juice. Like, I low key hate it. And he ends up bursting out laughing because he's like, I hate orange juice too. And I'm like, wait, no way. So we're cracking the fuck up because we're like, bro, why did we both go for the orange juice? And conversation ends up continuing. But later down the line, I, mentioned that I have a podcast, and he brings the situation back up. He was like, wait, that should be like your first episode when you get home from this trip, talking about the orange juice. And we're like sitting here thinking about what can we say about that? Like, what is, the analogy we're going for with choosing the orange juice instead of the water? And, how could we translate this into an episode? And we're like sitting there brainstorming kind of jokingly, like it's lighthearted, but the answer just appears so obvious. We do this in life all the time. We're all guilty of it. You take things you don't like to, like, quote unquote remember or remind yourself, do I like that? And then you're typically dissatisfied or disappointed, and ultimately just like mad at yourself, because why would I do that? Like, I know I don't like this thing, and yet there I was stupidly reaching for the thing I know I don't like. This could be a coffee order that you hated, or maybe like a food you've sworn off. Those cases, obviously, this shit is harmless. Like, your taste buds change, there's human error. If you go to a restaurant, you order something, and then you decide, you know what, I'm gonna order it again. There's different staff. Maybe it was super busy. There's a lot of things at play. Maybe in those cases, it'll be a different experience. I actually went to a restaurant recently, and me and my friend paid $18 for a fucking beet salad, and we were like, oh shit, it has blue cheese on it. And she knows I don't like blue cheese. And I'm like, you know what? We could just put the blue cheese on the side. Like, you can use it. I won't. The salad ends up being the bare fucking minimum. Literally a plate of spinach, blue cheese on the side, the dressing on the side, pecans, and the beets. Okay? Like, $18 is fucking insane. And I'm like, you know what? Let me just like get a little bite of the blue cheese because this really needs help. I end up liking the blue cheese, which is fucking insane because I have always said I hate blue cheese. So, that proves the point. Maybe it's the restaurant, maybe it's the place, maybe my taste buds change. Who knows? I also convinced myself to like mushrooms by literally forcing myself to eat them until I was like, wait, these are good as fuck. So, I say all that to say food is kind of a different thing. Coffee, drinks, they can be different, but I want to get to the analogy of the episode. We're not just going to be talking about orange juice, okay? We're talking about reaching for things, maybe reaching for people like a friend or, a lover that you know is wrong for you in some capacity. Can you force that? So I want you to actually visualize this. Imagine the cups that I was presented on the plane. Do you go with the water, the thing that you know you need and benefit from? Or do you go with the orange juice, the thing that seems pretty appealing and a lot of people appreciate, but doesn't serve you? There's another quote that I like that says, never become so thirsty that you drink from every cup presented to you. That's how you get poisoned. I was dabbling with the idea of making this my intro quote, and I could have, but you know what? I just sprinkled it throughout. And I really like this quote because I think it applies especially to people that you might find yourself in a relationship with. It's so simple to think, oh, this person is giving me attention. I should see where this goes. Or, oh, this person is interested in me. So I should try to be interested in them too. Like, I don't want to be rude. I should, give them the benefit of the doubt or whatever. When you kind of know in the back of your head, like, something's off. Or I've kind of met somebody like this before and it didn't work out well. But, once again, you're presented with this person, you're presented with this cup, and you think, like, oh, I need to give it attention because it's giving me attention. Never be that thirsty. Never force it. Trust your intuition. If somebody's not aligned with who you are or your energy, you need to cut them the fuck off. It's not always, oh, I feel bad. Like, you don't need to feel bad. It's literally just a boundary of, like, listen, you're really cool. I appreciate you taking an interest in me. Unfortunately, the energy is not reciprocated, I don't feel the same way. Or if it's a case where you just are like, no, I've been down this road before, they're really not giving me much, but like even that slight attention, even that text at 3 a.m., I'm falling into that trap. Know what you're doing and know that when you give away your energy, you need to think about it like giving away money. I told you guys this, I don't know what episode. I think it might have been last episode where you should think of your energy as currency. So, if you were thinking about it in that way, why would you strip your bank account for someone who wouldn't even lend you $5? You know what I'm saying? Like everything in this world is an exchange, and you shouldn't think of your connections as like what I'm going to do for you versus what you're going to do for me. But when it comes to your energy, not so much like acts of service or like direct things that they're actually doing. I'm just talking about energy. If you don't feel the energy aligns, don't give your money away. Don't give your energy to somebody who's not giving you the energy that you want to have in your circle. Don't sabotage your peace just because chaos is familiar. I think this is a huge one that a lot of people struggle with, and it's almost a form of self sabotage just to think, oh, things are going so well. It can't be. Like, this is not how my life works. So, I actually need to accept this behavior from someone who I kind of know shouldn't be in my life, but like, this is what's normal. This is kind of how I've been rolling for a while, so I'll allow it. Like, no, we're not doing that. If chaos is your familiar, think about why is that? Like, what is that going back to? Why does that feel normal to you? Does it have to do with your childhood? Does it have to do with your parents? Did you move a lot? Like, why is chaos more comfortable than peace? And why are you willing to give up your peace for another person? So, I'm doing the artist way right now, and if you're not familiar, this is kind of a workbook for discovering your creative self and kind of freeing yourself from those shackles of not being good enough or not being able to create or not feeling like you can overcome the judgment of other people. Whatever your reason is for not creating, this journey aims to get you there, basically. But, anyways, it's really been throwing some great quotes, some great concepts into my forefront. And one of them has to do with this sabotaging of the peace because chaos is familiar. So, in this book, she talks about crazy makers. And basically, these are people that are in your life where they make your life crazier, but you make their life easier. Okay. So, those are the people that, are constantly calling you or texting you or needing something from you. But when it comes to you needing something from them, something always comes up. Their drama always trumps yours. So when you feel like you've established some peace, some order, a schedule in your life, they swoop in and are like, nah, fuck that. Like, I need you to do this, that, and the third. And they want to basically stir up your life so that their life seems less crazy. And I don't know, maybe you have somebody in your life like this. Maybe it's a family member, maybe it's a friend, whatever. The thing is, you continue to allow them to abuse you in this way. And I'm using her language of abuse because maybe you're like, damn, they're abusing me. I mean, I think that's kind of a strong word, but maybe it's not. If you're involved with one and you continue to let them disrupt your life, who's the problem? Like, you have to admit that you're being used and you're playing a role in that suffering. You are allowing the behavior to continue. I know in my heart that they're causing me a lot of stress, they're causing me a lot of chaos, but I'm not doing anything to stop it. I'm continuing to choose that cup every time. Healing is looking at the role you play in your own suffering. Another quote I love: what are you doing, or what are you not doing in this case, that is causing you to need this person or that's causing you to allow this behavior? Realize you have the option to choose differently. You have the option to distance yourself. And in a romantic sense, if you're feeling like this is how your relationship is revolving, everything is always crazy, there's always a situation, you feel like they constantly need you for everything, and you really don't have your own sense of peace, you don't have your own sense of a schedule because you're constantly like, oh, I need to go do this for that person. How much energy are you giving away and how much energy are you receiving? If those are hugely different, maybe it's time to walk away. Another quote I really like is, if you don't like something, take away its only power, your attention. And to follow up with that, too much attention makes a donkey think he's a lion. Let's get into an example. You know, you've seen this. Beautiful ass girl, and boom, ugly ass boyfriend. Like, oh, how did this happen? And then to continue even further, the dude is constantly cheating on her and she stays. We've all seen it. Like, this shit unfortunately happens all the time. And like I just said, too much attention makes a donkey think he's a lion. So, ugly ass boyfriend, donkey, thinks he's a lion because, yeah, I bagged this girl and I get to treat her however the fuck I want and she still stays with me. She still ignores all the other options and sticks with me. Yeah, why would I do anything? Why would I cook for her? Why would I take her on dates? Like, the bar is on the floor because she makes it that way. And not that, this girl is fully in the wrong. And if this has been you before, I get it. But just recognize the role you're playing in your own suffering. Like I said, your attention is your superpower. Let's say, you don't like a coworker. They're constantly irritating the shit out of you. Remove your buy-in, don't respond. Like, so many times we allow our attention to be on the wrong things. We allow our attention to be on the negative things. This coworker is pissing you the fuck off every day and they piss you off today and you decide to get in the car on your way home and tell your sister about it or tell your friend about it, whatever. Now you're literally taking the job home with you and you're placing more attention after you just got off work. You're still continuing to give them your attention when they're not even in front of you, you know? So a lot of the times we need to recognize, okay, I'm allowing this to occupy way too much of my attention. And at that rate, I'm dwelling on it. She's at home chilling, like maybe the coworker is thinking about you too, but who the fuck cares? If that's what you want to do, that's your prerogative. Like, go ahead, but I'm going to leave that shit at the door. Matter of fact, I'm going to leave it at the exact room where you were bothering me in. Like, don't even take it into the next doorway with you. Another example, you're constantly getting upset when you see somebody's story and they have satisfaction in it. Like, they're like posting shit purely so that you see it and then you're getting upset about it just like they wanted you to. Unfollow them. That is the definition of you causing your own suffering, because obviously they're doing it to hurt you. So, like, they are actually taking the action, but you're making the choice to watch the story. Unfollow them. If you don't want to unfollow them, mute their story, mute their post, like whatever you want to do. Just stop looking at it. Stop giving it your attention. Your attention directly correlates with your boundaries. So it's up to you to decide what is worthy of your focus. What boundary are you breaking when you continuously insert your attention into places where it's going to impact you negatively? So, also in the artist way is this concept of paying attention and, the power of your attention. And it says in here, the truth of a life really has little to do with its quality. The quality of life is in proportion always to the capacity for delight. The capacity for delight is the gift of paying attention. So, basically saying, you pay attention to the things that bring you joy. So if you're paying attention to, the flowers blooming or the good in life, the romanticizing of the small things, that is going to bring you joy. Whereas giving your attention away to people and places and environments that don't serve you, that's your gift. It's a literal gift that they are receiving your attention. And if they're not serving you, why would you grace them with your presence? Your presence is a present. Always remember that. So even down to your fucking gaze, even down to you being in the same room as somebody, you're giving them your attention. So choose wisely what you give your attention to. So, obviously, we've covered a lot on people, but I want to revisit the quote we started with and kind of discuss how that relates to some other things in life. So, let me say it again. Before you give in to the temptation, remember where it took you the last time. So, if you're trying to enhance your life and you're presented with a couple options, let me just give examples. You can go out and drink, you can go play volleyball at the beach, or you can stay in and work on the craft you told yourself you're going to finish today. What are you deciding? Obviously, every option has its pros and cons, okay? If you go out and drink, you get to hang out with your friends, which, isn't inherently bad. The drinking, not the greatest activity, but like, you could tell yourself, oh, I'm hanging out with friends I haven't seen in a while. Okay, there's a pro. Con is obviously the drinking. Playing volleyball at the beach, great wholesome activity. Once again, you're hanging out with people that maybe, you haven't seen or whatever the deal is with that. It's not inherently bad once again. Con, maybe you're a little bit tired and you're not really in the mood to work out. Lastly, we have stay in and work on the craft you said you were going to finish today. Okay, so if you're a little tired, then doing this craft, that could kind of be a con. But the biggest pro is you told yourself you were going to finish it today. That's what you told yourself. And so for this reason, the only true correct choice is to maintain the words you spoke to yourself. Work on the craft you said you were going to finish today. When you uphold those little promises, even if you didn't say, I promise I'm going to finish this craft today, you didn't word it like that. You just said, yeah, I'm going to finish this craft today. That's what you maybe told somebody. Maybe you just had it in your head. That was the plan. When you maintain those words that you say to yourself, that is the purest form of self love, self respect, because you're committing to what you say. And it doesn't have to do with anybody else, it just has to do with you and your word. And when you continue to break the words that you say to yourself, you're kind of lowering your self concept. You're kind of taking away your own discipline because, okay, you tell yourself you're going to go to the gym. What's stopping you from not doing that now? Or you tell yourself you're going to go to the grocery store. Oh, I don't really feel like it. And you decide to do something else. Like, once again, how do you even trust what you say is true if you're just going to keep saying it and then doing something else? So, the volleyball, that's tempting. The drinking, that's tempting. But at this rate, this is something where it comes down to your own self respect. And you might think, oh, it's not that deep. Like, you can finish the craft tomorrow. Well, tomorrow might roll around and you have other things presented to you. Are you going to give in to them again? Once again, they're not horrible. It's not like you're going out for drinks and you're doing fucking meth. Like you're going out for drinks or you're playing volleyball. Not the worst activities to indulge in, but they are temptations. So just thinking about that, when you're presented with activities, you said you were going to do something and you decide to switch up just because you have new options, new shiny options. Think about your word. Understand that correlates to self-respect. Now, this could apply to a bad habit like vaping is presented to you because, maybe you go and drink and then when you go drink there's going to be vapes there and now you're going to end up vaping. So what was inherently not a bad activity, like drinking is still obviously not the best, but you could tell yourself, oh, I'm just going to have one drink or whatever, I'll just drink pop there. But then you see a vape and then you give into the vape, and then what's next after that? Like it could be a series of negative activities following that. So thinking about that, when you decide to indulge in one temptation, it could also lead to a series of other ones. Another one, like I said, skipping the gym, resorting back to your old lazy routine. Obviously, your old lazy routine, it worked for you because you were able to uphold that. You're able to rot in bed on TikTok and that's easy for you. But deciding, oh, I'm going to wake up early and go to the gym and eat a healthy breakfast and have this schedule for myself, that's what you set out to do. When you give into the temptation of rotting and being lazy, remember where it took you last time. Remember how shitty you felt. Remember how unproductive you were. Remember what you journaled about and said you were upset with, and how excited you were to start on this new journey, to create these new habits. Look at you reverting back. Why are we doing that? This could apply to disordered eating habits. That's a temptation you're going to often be presented with, whether that's, like I said, just eating bad food, or if you genuinely had a super toxic relationship with food and you're tempted to fall down that path again. Remember where it took you last time. I could go into so many examples, but the point is what you're not changing, you're choosing. I saw a TikTok not too long ago from this creator, and she mentioned that we're often overwhelmed with choices versus decisions. But she then went on to break down what is the difference between a choice and a decision. Me being someone who, has kind of always struggled to make decisions and felt like I'm in this paralysis because there's so many options. And I feel like a lot of people our age think this way, just the way that social media is and the access to so many people's lives. We feel like, what the fuck? I have way too many options. Here's the thing, a choice is much different than a decision. And what she said was, when you make a choice, that's the starting point. You don't know what's on the other side of that door. So if you choose to get this job, okay, you might be thinking what's going to happen on the other side, but ultimately you don't know. You don't know what's going to happen. You can only make the choice based on what you think is going to happen, maybe past experiences, and maybe if there's like some sort of Yelp reviews, I don't know. However, you don't know actually what's going to happen. Your experience is individualized to you. So you make the choice, okay? Let's say you end up hating the job. Now, here comes time for a decision. So a decision follows a choice because you can actually make it based on your own opinions, your own perceptions. So if you have a perception now, I hate this job based on me working this job myself, nobody else, I'm talking about my experience. Now you're faced with making a decision because you can quit the job or you can stay in the job and be miserable. You get what I'm saying? So being paralyzed by choices is really problematic. Just make the choice. You don't know what's going to happen. Whereas when you make a decision, like me choosing that orange juice, even though I know I hate orange juice, that is a decision. It would be a choice if I was like, what is that orange shit? Like, let me try that. No, I knew it was orange juice, and I still was like, yeah, I'm going to make the decision to have that over water. So thinking about life in that way, I think takes a lot of weight off my back. I don't know, maybe you feel nothing from this. I think that it was pretty life altering because it's like you don't feel as much pressure when you make a choice and you don't know anything about it other than it could go good or it could go bad. Whatever, fucking choose it. Try it out. After that, if you recognize it's not something that serves you, now let's make a decision to not go back for that cup. Let's not go back to that job. Let's not go back to that type of person. Okay, so like I said, if you do decide to go back and you choose that person or that place that you know didn't work out for you the first time, the lesson is just going to keep reappearing in your life until you learn it. Like if you date a specific type of person and then you're presented with that person again, obviously not that specific one, but somebody who embodies, the same patterns or the same toxic traits, and you choose them, you're just going to get hurt again and have to relive that lesson until you finally create a boundary where you're like, I'm not choosing that cup anymore. I'm not going for that type of person anymore. I'm not allowing this type of behavior from anybody. You're setting a boundary. You're creating that based on the lessons that you have now learned because hopefully, eventually, you will learn them. Knowing yourself is definitely the first step because you need to know what affects you. You need to know what makes you upset. You need to know what you're looking for, who you are, so that somebody else can bring out the best in you, or a job can bring out the best in you, or whatever it is that we're referring to here. Apply it to that. Get clear on that and remind yourself often. Now, if you don't feel like you know yourself, or maybe you kind of struggle with dabbling in, these similar people or situations that you know are not right for you, but you keep going back to them, maybe you really do need a reminder. And I'm going to give you some journal prompts that you can write down, you can work on, and hopefully, if you don't remember mentally, you can literally grab that notebook, look at these prompts, and be like, oh, wow, okay, this was 3 months ago, this was 3 years ago, and I still feel the same way. I still feel like I'm getting handed these cups, these people, these places where I'm forced to reflect and think, is this somebody I want in my life? Is this something I want in my life? And I need to make sure I don't choose incorrectly. So let me look back on my prompts and make sure. Eventually it'll become more clear to you, but in the beginning stages, it takes a lot to focus on yourself and to give yourself your own attention. Like I said, we often give so many other things our attention, but not ourselves, not learning about ourselves. So get out your notebooks, get out your pencils, get out your pens, whatever you need. I'll give you a moment. If you want to do this later, that works too. I'm also going to put these in the show notes. So if you can't get to it right now, you can go ahead and do this later, but you should really do it. I highly encourage it. So let's get into it. Number 1, what are your boundaries in a relationship? Number 2, what are your boundaries in a friendship? Number 3, what makes you feel seen? Number 4, how do you want to be shown you're appreciated? Number 5, what are 10 things that you love? Number 6, what are 10 things you dislike? Number 7, what are you doing when you feel happiest and most like yourself? Number 8, what makes you not feel like yourself? Number 9, how would you describe yourself to somebody who has never met you? Number 10, what does most of your energy/attention go towards? Are there other things you wish you spent more time doing or focusing on? Number 11, when did you feel the most hurt by a person? How did this impact your life? Number 12, do you have a crazy maker in your life right now? Is it you? Does chaos feel comfortable? If so, why do you think that is? Dig deep. Number 13, is there something in your life right now that's lacking? Something you thought you wanted but are now realizing it's actually just orange juice. So, again, journaling these things can really, really help you with your self control and will definitely serve as a reminder for what your boundaries are because it's directly listed. Like you can't ignore that when the question says what are your boundaries and you have them plain as day, and this dude is literally breaking number 3. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to go. We're not giving our energy away to people that don't serve us. Situations, environments, whatever, friendships included. But I think these questions really kind of cover all of those bases. So let me know if you need more on that. But I'll end with saying all these prompts are directed at you and for you, no one else. So try to remember when you're presented with those cups, it doesn't mean they're going to look gross or wrong to everyone. People love orange juice, okay? The key is knowing what you personally are looking for. So I just started running and I went to go buy new shoes and I went to this place called Fleet Feet. And if you're not familiar, highly recommend. They make you do a little walk on this pad. And then after you're done with the scan, they literally ask you for your email and send the whole diagnostic to your email. So I have my arch height, I have my foot length, I have my toe box, like all of these features of my feet are in a virtual scan. Like, it's an interactive digital tool that they send directly to you. But anyways, so I get the scan done, and this girl, great customer service, is like, hey, I'm gonna go pick out some shoes for you based on your feet. So she goes to pick out 3 pairs of shoes that she thinks will work for my feet in particular. Like I said, just did a whole scan. She knows what my feet are like, so she's picking out shoes for me. The shoes she ended up grabbing were New Balances, Hoka's, and one other brand, which I don't fucking remember, but it's besides the point, okay? So I'm trying on the shoes. She's kind of asking me, like, which ones feel the best. First pair, unknown brand, I was like, all right, those are okay, but like not too impressed. Then I try on the New Balances and I'm like, wow, these are so fucking comfortable. Like, I did a walk, I did a little jog around the store, I come back, I'm like, these feel great. Then she's like, okay, well, we still have one more pair. It's the Hoka's. Obviously, everybody and their mom has Hoka's. So I'm already kind of leaning towards them. I'm a little biased just based on the fact that everybody loves Hoka's. So I try them on. I'm doing my little walk, my little jog around the store, and I'm like, why, like, I'm confused. Why do I not love these? Like, they were definitely better than the first ones, but like the New Balances I thought were much more comfortable. Like, the Hoka's to me felt way too thick. The platform kind of just felt hard. When I would come down, it felt like it was just a rock in the bottom of my shoe, which is a little dramatic, but whatever. And I was in my head like, if I were to close my eyes and I didn't know that those were Hoka's, would I even think to give them more thought? Because I was like, oh, let me try putting the inserts in. Maybe that's what it is. Like, I was really trying to figure out what's the hype. Why do I not like the Hoka's? Everybody likes Hoka's. And then I'm like, everybody doesn't have to like the same things. And I just got a fucking scan of my foot and an insert for my foot. And I'm going to sit here and try to force myself to like a shoe that doesn't feel good. You know, like, that's exactly where it's like you are presented with these cups. Okay. So I literally was presented 3 cups. And if I was going with, the orange juice in this case, I would have gotten the Hoka's. But I decided to go with the water. I learned from my fucking experiences. I'm not going to go with something just because everybody else likes it or because it looks shiny and interesting to other people. I know what I need. I needed the New Balances. And if you think this analogy is stupid and it's a stretch, I don't know what to tell you, but I just feel like it applies to so many things. Lately, I just can't stop thinking about everything as orange juice and water. So, yeah. You know what? No one knows you better than you, or at least that's the goal. I feel like I was at the fucking doctor's office, like option A or option B, and you're like, bro, I don't know. Like, I know these are more comfortable, but like maybe I could go with the Hoka's, and it's like, no, just go with what you like. Go with the one that's clearing the vision. Okay? Go with the New Balances. So, anyways, don't consider anyone else but yourself when you're deciding something that's directly impacting you and your life. How do you break a pattern? You respond differently. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. Recognize when you're presented with a cup that looks a hell of a lot like the one that you got a lesson about prior, and try to make the choice to choose the other cup. Try to. If you don't, and you do go with that insanity route, you're going to end up relearning the same lesson a lot more times than you probably want to. And if there's hurt and pain and struggle and effort and a lot of negative things associated with choosing that cup, just ask yourself, is it really worth it? Is this person really worth all of that pain? Is this situation really worth all that suffering? Is this job really worth all of that fucking stress and anxiety? If the answer is no, then stop choosing it. Stop choosing the same thing that you always do. Switch it up. It was ironic too because Portugal is literally known for their orange juice. And so I had it at the hostel and it wasn't bad. Okay. It actually wasn't bad. But again, still not my favorite. And obviously, I like it to some degree if I'm willing to keep testing it out. Like, I don't hate orange juice, okay? I don't hate it. It's just not my favorite. And that's where the gray areas come in. People can be like that too. Like, you're choosing something that you always go for. you might know, okay, this type of dude always ends up like this. You're choosing them for some reason. Like, you like a certain thing, but you dislike another thing that overpowers the good. That's where you have to be like, okay, I give myself grace. I know why I'm going for this thing, but know that you're settling. Know that at the end of the day, is all of that energy, pain, hurt worth it for something you're not fully aligned with? And once again, this applies to friendships too. This applies to environments. This applies to all of those choices in your life that you make on a daily basis. Just kind of be aware. Know when it's not aligned with you. Reflect on those journal prompts and try to figure out who you are. If you're not giving yourself a lot of attention or time to figure out what you're looking for and what makes you happy and all of those things that I mentioned, you should do more of that. You'll never regret spending that time because you're with you for the long haul. Okay? People come and go, relationships come and go, jobs come and go. You are with you that whole time. So figure it out. Figure out, what are the things that I constantly keep doing and choosing? Why am I doing that? Why am I learning this lesson 40 times when I could just learn it once and be over with it? What is the block? What's the thing I'm not revealing to myself? Why am I comfortable with the chaos? All of those things. Reflect on that. Journal about it. Meditate on it. Do whatever you got to do, but figure it out sooner rather than later. And once again, if you guys need any help with anything, you want to talk about anything, I'm here for you. I'm rooting for you. And yeah, thanks for listening to this episode. I will be more consistent moving forward. All right, see you guys next week. Bye.